It didn't feel like it. Looking back at the start of summer, the high on that date was 95 degrees. Today at Kenner, the high was 96 degrees. We were hotter today for the start of fall than we were on the first day of summer. And in fact, that 96 is a new record. The old record was sent back in 1997 at 95 degrees. We're 95 at the moment. The reason we did get a little bit hotter is because we did get into some slightly drier air. Drier air warms and also cools faster, more efficiently, which is what allowed us to probably hit 96 degrees during the day today. So a brief little drop in the humidity allowed those temperatures to kind of skyrocket a bit more. Still in the low mid 90s outside right now, and dew point's not terrible, upper 60s, lower 70s. We really have never tapped back into that high humid air. We will see kind of a weak front move on through tomorrow, which might help our humidity stay on the albeit slightly lower side during the day tomorrow, and probably on into the weekend we'll likely see those dew points coming up. We're still very much dominated by this big upper ridge. Boy, look at Fiona on water vapor here. That is going to start getting picked up by this upper trough, and a second trough, which is going to send a cold front on through, does look to be fairly potent. This front will move through early on Monday, and with this northerly pattern, we do get into some milder to cooler temperatures, but more importantly, less humid air. That's what allows the humidity or the morning lows to drop even cooler, and it does look like we're going to get a second surge that will keep that cooler or milder, drier air in place, but also, more importantly, help to reinforce this cold front, which should act as a shield. This is based on the Euro. The Euro on Wednesday of next week has the storm already moving off of Florida and into the Atlantic. That would be a fantastic scenario for us, which we'll take you through in just a moment. We're starting though with the front on the way for next week. Next couple of days, highs lower 90s. By next week though, highs lower 80s and less humid, making it feel more comfortable. And that front should act as a bit more of a defense for us in anything that does try and get into the Gulf, which at the moment we still do not have a name, which does mean the computer models struggle. There are a lot of factors that are going into the eventual path of the storm. What we know right now is though, it is still in a fairly hostile environment, still very much an open wave, meaning it does not really have a well-defined closed circulation, and it is still battling dry air and wind shear. It's the wind shear that may start to subside a bit, allowing for better organization. But at the moment, when you look at satellite, there really isn't anything there. One of the satellite passes did have maybe an attempt at a more closed circulation, which was not being shown by the hurricane hunters yesterday, and maybe it's trying to get better organized today. The model consensus, though, is that that wave will continue moving into the central Atlantic. Then the spread comes toward the latter part of the weekend and early next week. However, we do start to see a little bit more clustering of the models more east than we have been west. And in fact, even the GFS is starting to go a little bit more east. If you remember yesterday, the GFS had the storm center right over almost central Yucatan before making its way into the central Gulf and getting very close to Louisiana. Now it has it more east central Gulf around this upper high and feeling the effects of the upper trough drawing it northward. This would have more of an impact toward the Florida panhandle. The Euro, on the other hand, has a much weaker upper high off to its east, so the turn north is much sooner. If you remember yesterday, it was more the western tip of Cuba. The Euro has trended even more east, which would take it well almost straight into southern Florida. And then, as I said, by mid next week, so less than a week from today, already out over the open Atlantic waters because of the upper troughing and that upper ridging. So a lot is going to depend on the upper steering, but also where the storm develops. If the storm develops a little farther north, it does look like it'll have a better chance of getting picked up by that upper trough and pulled away from us faster. If it develops a little bit more south, it may take a little longer for that turn toward Florida. So still yet to be determined where the storm develops, but the upper steering, we're starting to get a far better idea of what it's looking more likely to occur next week. High temperatures still in the low 90s, then our front moves through and it'll feel a little more fall-like as we head into next week with high temperatures, lower 80s and morning lows in the 50s and 60s.